Well, hello, everybody. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to spend some time with each and every one of you this evening. And I want to welcome you. I'm so pleased to have you here with me tonight for our live Q&A and live coaching call. And okay, I know we're still letting people in the door, but I see we've got lots of people joining the call right now. Marissa, welcome. Happy to have you. Yay. So happy to see you. Dr. Kim, welcome. Brandon, I see we've got Abby, Mindy, Barbara, Allison. Who else do we have? I know we're letting lots of people in the door. So welcome. All right. So excited to have you. Okay. All right. So I really want to welcome you. We're going to be here this evening for probably, I'm guessing, about an hour, maybe 75 minutes or so, somewhere in that time frame. And really the goal tonight is to answer your questions, do some live coaching. We've had some people submit questions in advance, so I'll be taking those questions and we'll intermix those with live questions that come through the Q&A, as well as questions that come, you can absolutely raise your hand. In fact, honestly, sometimes it makes it a little bit easier for me when I can actually have a conversation with you as you're asking your questions. So, all right. So again, welcome. Let's see. We've got Cindy, we've got Levon, Allison. All right. Lots of people entering the Zoom room. All right. So while we're letting people in, let me again welcome you. My name is Lesli Bitel. For those of you that don't know me, and I am a practice building expert for health and wellness entrepreneurs who want to attract more clients, sell more programs, and grow a profitable practice, specifically integrating multiple streams of income via the profit pyramid, right? And hopefully you guys are familiar with the profit pyramid. We might do a little bit of a review of that profit pyramid if you think that would be something that would be helpful for you tonight. And I, of course, am going to be your facilitator for this evening's training and live Q&A, where I'll be answering your specific questions and doing some live coaching on anything that has to do with building a successful health practice. Okay, so really no limitations around what kind of questions to ask. I'm here to support you in any way I possibly can. So just to give you some ideas on what those questions might pertain to, I mean, it could be, really zeroing in on your niche, your messaging, super, super important. I would love to get a sense of how many people on the line really feel confident in their message. Okay. In fact, let's start there. Who feels comfortable with their messaging? Who feels like they need support around messaging? It's a really, really common challenge, quite frankly. Like, I would say nowadays, some of us are pretty, we have an idea in terms of who we want to target, but sometimes the challenge is, how do I articulate this in a way that really lands powerfully for my target audience so that they get it? So their eyes aren't glazed over when I start talking about what I do. Right. So, messaging, super important. Creating lucrative programs and packages along with multiple streams of income, absolutely would welcome your questions around that particular topic. The other potential areas that we could talk about this evening include how to have conversations with potential clients that lead to getting more yeses. And I would say this is especially imperative as you move into the program and package model versus the one-off sessions. I mean, let's be honest, it's not too tough to sell a one-off session, right? Wouldn't you agree? For the most part, I would say, not a huge commitment on the part of the client, pretty much doable, I would say, for the most part. Where it starts to become absolutely imperative that you know how to nail that conversation is when we get to, moving those clients into a higher end program, right? Like that level A in that profit pyramid, where we are talking about moving them into a longer commitment, right? A much more significant commitment in terms of working with you as compared to a one-off. So any questions? I really, really love helping my clients and my students lean into how to have a really awesome enrollment conversation in a way that feels super authentic to you, adds tons and tons of value to your client, and very importantly, moves them towards coming up with, yes, I want to work with you. Let's do this. Marketing strategies, right? Marketing strategies in terms of, how to increase your visibility in the marketplace, and how to position yourself as the leader in your particular niche or area of expertise, right? Anything to do with online marketing is absolutely fair game for this evening's conversation. So gave you some options there. I do want to remind everybody that if you are an RDN or LDN, you are eligible to receive a CEU for this evening. So Abby will be collecting names via the chat this evening so that we can keep track of, those of you that will get a CEU certificate. So make sure towards the end, we'll be asking for your email address. All right. So again, as I was reflecting on what would be most helpful for you this evening, I really decided that I wanted to offer some powerful laser coaching, really designed to help you through some of your biggest challenges. Again, attracting high-paying clients, moving to cash pay, like that's another great option. Designing packages and programs, offering your groups, getting people to enroll in your group programs, and more. So periodically, I love to have these powerful laser coaching calls for you at no cost. Because, frankly, I'm very committed to our mission, our shared mission. And that is, to ultimately to be able to help more people. Right. And so quite honestly, if I can help you be more successful and I can help you to really clarify your message, expand your reach, and position yourselves as the go-to expert in your area, ultimately, I like to think that I have a hand, at least play a small role in really contributing to improving people's health, albeit indirectly, right? So it's really my goal tonight to help you to overcome that, confusion and overwhelm associated with the business side of building your practice. All right. So again, welcome those of you that have just joined. I feel like we've got pretty much everyone out of the waiting room into the group. Susan, welcome. Thanks for turning on your camera. I really appreciate that. We got Giselle, Stacy, Jenny, Julia, Pat, Christine. All right, guys. Great. All right. So what I want to do is give you, let's go ahead and just jump in. How about we do that? I mean, alternative, let me ask you what you'd like. Let me kind of throw out an option. I have in front of me the profit pyramid, and I could do just a quick review of the profit pyramid if you think that would be helpful, or we could just jump right in. What do you guys think? What is your preference? Any thoughts on that? I'm going to look at the, Abby, let me know if there's any comments there.
There are a couple of questions already, Lesli.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's start taking questions, and I do have the profit pyramid up just for our reference. Now, if you guys were in attendance at my most recent live event, you you should be fairly familiar with this model. It's an ascension model, and in a nutshell, the goal is to be able to illustrate via this image the different revenue streams that you can actually create inside of your business, right? So the whole idea is that, of course, the one-on-one is great, and that is where we start, right? That's always where we start, is the one-on-one. But we also have these other levels, these other more scalable offers that we can offer inside of a private practice. And this is where things get really fun, because I know many of you are, really teachers at heart. And so essentially these other options enable you to, really show up, teach, and help a whole bunch of people at one time, greatly expand your impact in the world, and help more people at any given time. And it can make a huge difference in your revenue, right? Absolute huge difference. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start. Okay, so we're getting lots of great questions. Okay. Let's start with Barbara. All right. So Barbara has a great question. How do I find these VIP clients at the top of the pyramid? All right. Actually, it's a really good question. And okay, so there's several components. It's not only where can I find them? In my opinion, Barbara, it's also what needs to be in place in order to, be set up so that clients see the value in what you're offering. Okay. So it's a mix. It's where do I find people, but it's also what is the process? What do I need to have in place so they really see the value? Okay. And I'm going to just mention this other thing, this other piece right out of the gate. It's also, how do I develop the know, like, and trust so that by the time I have an enrollment conversation with this person, they already know me, they already trust me. And if I have a great conversation with them, then it is much more likely that they're going to, be ready to step into a higher ticket offer. And Barbara, I do want to mention that in the work that I do with my private clients, as well as my clients inside of my group programs, the reality is we start like we don't necessarily work our way up the profit pyramid. In other words, we're not like moving up, all the different levels of the profit pyramid before we kind of earn the right to invite that person into a high end, high ticket program. So that is kind of an interesting nuance to this approach. Essentially, what we do is we build out our level E. Okay. So the level E is your free stuff. Guys, remember, this is how you get in front of your audience. It's, it's podcasting, it's guest podcasting, it's doing talks, it's networking. It is literally being out there talking to people and inviting the right people into a deeper conversation. Quite frankly, your people, the people that are able and often in a situation where they can move into a level A program, to be honest with you, they're everywhere. I know that sounds really surprising, but they truly are. What is often lacking, in other words, why do we sometimes have conversations with people and they're like, no, I can't afford it, right? Like right out of the gate, I can't afford it. It's too high end. That's not what I was looking for. Right now, why does that and let's be honest, sometimes it's going to happen even in the best of scenarios. However, If you have other elements in place, you are much more likely to get a yes. And I'm going to share with you some of those other pieces of the puzzle that really need to be in place. All right. Number one is your message. Clients have to better understand how you help them, right? Like your message really needs to land. And it is not a message around like your process necessarily, right? Or like all the things you're putting inside of your program, although that's a little bit important, it's not really the driver. What people most care about are the results. That is really what they're paying for, are the results that you can help them to achieve inside the program. Recognizing, of course, we can't promise, we can't guarantee, but what we can do is say, look, this program was designed to help you to achieve result, 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 right? And based on everything I'm seeing and everything you're sharing with me, it seems like a great fit. So message is number one, and your ability to articulate, number one, who you help, what are the problems you help people solve, right? Which is often a missing link in the marketing that I see. Okay. Oftentimes we just kind of gloss over the pain points and struggles and challenges. And definitely people are signing up because they want those results. Okay. So primary, got to have your messaging down pat, 100%. All right. Then we need a really awesome program or package with different elements besides just the sessions, right? We want it to really feel very robust and very, very supportive. So we want to put together a great program that is designed specifically to help move that client from point A, which is struggling and suffering and just frustrated, right? This is how your clients come to you. And the program is designed to move them to point B, which is, those results that they desire. So the positioning is absolutely crucial. The third element is your confidence. Seriously, you really have to be confident that your program is solid, that it really is designed to move clients through the pain, right? Through that whole change process, closer to those desired results. All right. The fourth element that has to be in place is, quite honestly, a sense of urgency. Okay. Because a lot of times you will talk to people and they're like, well, that sounds great, but maybe I should wait until, next winter, or you know what I mean? There really is never a great time to change. Like, let's be honest. So we have to build in that sense of urgency. And sometimes we can do that with price. There's different ways that we can build in a sense of urgency, at least to get them to decide, right? The next element that has to be in place, you can see how that kind of builds. So it's not just, well, where do I find people? Because I promise you, promise your people are everywhere. They are everywhere. But if they don't see all these other things in place, they're going to push back. Okay. So if they get on the phone with you and they sense kind of a lack of confidence, they're going to sense that, right? And they're going to push back. So the other element that I was going to mention that really is so critical is that we have to know how to have a really awesome enrollment conversation. We have to have a blueprint for how to navigate that conversation in a way that feels very, very authentic to us, right? We have to feel like we're providing value and not feeling yucky and salesy. But at the same time, it needs to be constructed so that that client is recognizing on their own, in their own head, that they're acknowledging the cost of staying the same. So there are some coaching skills involved here. What is the cost of staying the same? What is possible for you if you decide to move forward and change? Like, what's possible? Like, let's paint that picture, right? All of these things, these different elements, I teach you, frankly, inside of the Six Figure Biz Academy, right? Um, Step by step by step. Um, I would say one other thing that is necessary in this process is, and I did allude to it, it is that we have to develop the know, like, and trust. So the reality is sometimes if you get somebody on on a call with you right off of social media, for example, and they don't really know you yet. Like, let's say they just found out about you. Like maybe they saw a post and they're like, oh, this looks interesting. And then you immediately get on the phone with them. Okay, it can work out, but sometimes they don't know you enough yet, right? So we have to have a process in place that helps them to to cut, just to get a better sense of your work. Maybe it's the testimonials, maybe it's the social proof that they see, right? To get them excited about the possibilities of working with you, right? So do you see, Barbara, how there's a variety of elements involved? It's a much bigger question, at least in my mind, as compared to, like, where's the spot I can find VIP clients? I'm hoping that makes sense. Okay, so let's keep going. How to start a new practice as an RD, as a newbie. Congratulations, Julie. And actually, Marissa asked a similar question. So Marissa and Julie are both, RD to be, excuse me, or new RD or RD to be. I'm not sure. But anyway, the answer is pretty much the same. So the great thing about being new is that we don't have to go back and fix things, right? We don't have to go back and like look at your website and redo it because the messaging is off. Like, I love working with people that are in your situation, right? Because we can do it all right the first time, okay? Which really is super nice. So, how to start a private practice as a new or a new practitioner or a practitioner to be is basically the question. I mean, I feel like really, and you probably know this to a degree, but really the first thing we need to do is figure out who is it that we're going to target. Who is it that you really want to target inside of your business, right? And I'm really not suggesting that you need to have this super, super, super small niche, right? Like super, super tight where, like hardly anyone fits. It's so small, right? Like, we don't have to do that. The most important thing is that you can articulate again who it is you're targeting. How is it that you help them? What are the problems that you solve? And what are those amazing transformations that you and your work help them to achieve? If you can articulate that, I swear that's half the battle right there. Because what that enables you to do is really get clear on all of your marketing across the board, your website, your Instagram bio, your LinkedIn bio, all of those bios can be easily written if you have clarity around that. If you don't, it's really, really hard because you just like, you don't even know where to start. So the one thing I would say, super important, is, and this really goes for everybody on this call, it is like I would say many of us are education addicts, right? Like, can you relate? If you are a little bit addicted, if you're really honest with yourself, to getting another certification and, just like never feeling like you know enough. Okay. If you can relate, I mean, I can so relate to that. When I had my practice, I always felt like, okay, one more certification and I think I'll finally be ready. Time is money. And that is the reality. If you're starting a business, you want to recoup your investment as soon as you can. You don't want to wait until you get, 3 more certifications. My biggest recommendation is start with what you know right now. Who can you help right now with the knowledge you have today? And let's start there, because you can always expand your niche. You can always add a subspecialty, right? Later on, but start with what you know right now and just start helping people. The other thing I think is really important, a lot of people don't realize when you're first starting out, you don't have to have like a really, really fancy website. You don't have to have like a lot of the bells and whistles. The reality is, you can start helping people without that stuff. I know it is a little hard to wrap your mind around that, but it really is true. Um, I would say your most important steps are, I mean, of course, do your LLC, like your business, you know, the formation, whatever kind of whatever you want to do there. You could do an S corp, LLC, or operate as a sole proprietor. Get your insurance. Of course, you always want to have liability insurance. Identify who you're going to target, clarify your messaging so you can articulate who you help and the result you help them to achieve. Then I would say we need to create your services, because, obviously you need to know what is it you're going to offer to people. I highly recommend right out of the gate moving into the program and package model. And this is really because this is where people get results, right? They don't get results from the one-off sessions. And that can be kind of frustrating for us as practitioners. So my recommendation would be like, let's just do it right out of the gate. And so my looking at this profit pyramid, again, Julie and Marissa, where I would focus on the profit pyramid for the two of you is your level A and your level E. Okay. And your level E is where you get in front of your target audience. All right. So I would pick a handful of options in the level E category to increase your visibility and really strive to position yourself as the go-to expert in your particular niche. I would be giving talks, okay, signature talks. And I would be inviting people, once I got in front of an audience, right, like via webinar or talks or podcasts. My suggestion is that you are inviting people into a strategy session with you. Okay. Does that make sense? You're inviting people into a strategy session. And again, I teach all of this inside of the Six Figure Biz Academy, exactly step by step, precisely how you go about doing that. But I'm hoping that is helpful. Um, just focus on A and E, figure out how you're going to get in front of your audience. And your goal is to fill your calendar up with enrollment calls. Literally, guys, you can be at a farmer's market, you can be at a dinner party, you could be at your book club, or you could be, at your child's soccer game this spring. And you could literally start talking to someone who seems like they're in your niche. All you do is say, gosh, you know what? I'd love to offer you some one-on-one time. I have this session in my practice, it's a, optimal health breakthrough session. Normally the fee is $200, but gosh, I'd be thrilled to waive that for you. Because I'd love to offer you some one-on-one time. How's that sound? Would you be willing to do that for yourself? Right? You get them into a conversation. Of course, you're providing value, right? And again, I teach this in the Six Figure Biz Academy, like how do you provide value so it doesn't feel like a bait and switch, right? I teach all of that in there. And then towards the end of that value add segment, you then move into that part of the conversation where you're like, you know what? I really feel like I could help you further with, would you like to talk about what that would look like? So you're not bulldozing people over. Okay. You're not like being pushy or, doing a bait and switch there. You're very authentic and you're inviting them into that next step. Seriously, to do these things, you don't need a fancy website, right? Of course, a website's going to be helpful, but you don't need like a 20-page website like I did when I first started my practice. All right. Okay, let's see here. I'm looking at my questions here. Do you ladies, let's see, Julie. Okay, so Julie, do you feel like I answered your question? I'd love to get a little feedback. And Marissa. Okay, so Marissa has some more questions. My question is more niche related and messaging. So Marissa's an RDN. Over the course of her career, which has been primarily in corporate wellness, I've noticed that there have been a few buckets of areas that I've found my expertise falling into. And I call these people superhumans. And this is who I've been able to help. Okay. Let's see. So on the one-on-one program side, C-level executive nutrition coaching, parents who do it all, HR, small business, and strategic planning for nutrition programming. Marissa, I think you're in our Six-Figure Biz Academy, right? I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you are.
Yes.
If you could, yes, yay. I knew it. All right. So we're going to go into a lot of detail. Like the very first skill building class, I'm going to teach you how to do messaging. All right. So the thing that I'm looking at here. Okay. So, okay. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. So are you saying the buckets include C-level executives? So like C-suite executives? Is that one of
Yes.
your possible
That
niches?
would be one of the many. And it's been such a struggle to narrow this because I feel like I could do so many different populations right now with the experience I've had. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. All right. So these are like target audiences, which is super important. May I ask what would you say the problems are that these folks have? Like if you look at all of these different categories, so you've got C-suite executives, really busy parents who do it all, and then HR executives. Is that right? HR execs.
Yeah, for HR, it's actually different. I do a lot of more strategic planning of the nutrition programming, and they want
Okay.
it already. So I'd say it's really the former two. And
Gotcha.
the patterns I'm seeing with these people are that in the workforce and parents too, who aren't even in the workforce, are that I keep coming back to this word superhuman. These are people that have so much to do, thankless work sometimes, and they put their health aside in the process. And so
Yeah.
whether it's managing time, managing meals, getting healthy food on the table, these things are very challenging to them, and they don't get enough sleep. Maybe they have kids at home, but the reality is that they have such a similar pattern of needing that type of support. But it almost doesn't matter what problems they have, if that makes sense. So I think this is the problem with my niche, because I could help somebody with an eating disorder who has those same problems, or somebody who has IBS. So it's like,
right. Okay. So, all right. So in my opinion, the first thing we need to do is what I would do is a starting point. I would make a list looking at these, target audiences. And I think C-suite execs and the do everything parent, right? Like the parent that just does everything, like too much going on, really, really hard life to manage. So what I would do is I would make a list of what are, like, from their perspective, what are they like laying in bed at night? worried about in terms of what you do, right? Like, what are those pain points that they're like, oh my God, I hate this about myself? What I did hear, just based on what you shared, is, they have a really difficult time just because they are under tremendous pressure. So they themselves probably have a ton of stress, right? I'm guessing, I'm just going to brainstorm a little, right? They probably sometimes have insomnia. They don't get enough sleep. They have difficulty focusing, which impairs their ability to perform well at work, on the job. They're probably gaining weight. Okay. I know these people. I got an MBA and I saw them every week in school. I'm like, oh my God, you people are a mess, you know? Um, they gain weight. They don't look very healthy. They look really tired. They're dragging. They're depending on coffee and, junk food to get them through the day. Their clothes look too tight. They look kind of haggard. Like the list goes on. And I'll bet they feel really like a sense of guilt and shame for not feeding their children very well. Like, oh my God, fast food again. I feel like such a terrible mother, like mother guilt, right? So I don't know if these are exactly on target, but it's these types of pain points that I would do a brain dump and just put yourself in their position and do a brainstorm on what are the struggles and pain points that they are dealing with on a regular basis. And then in your messaging, we are going to pick the most urgent ones. Okay. What is most urgent for them? Because guys, your ideal client, and again, this is something else we'll go over in the Six Figure Biz Academy, but to be clear, there is a list of criteria in terms of what is like the best, most profitable target audience. Okay. And I'm going to teach you that criteria, but just to kind of give you a hint, your target audience, like your ideal niche and target audience, there's a sense of urgency. Okay. In other words, they know they got a problem and they're very motivated to solve it. And they're motivated so much that they're willing to invest their hard-earned money to solve it. Okay. So I think that is all really important. So we don't want to always feel like we're swimming upstream with people, like trying to twist their arm, talking people in, you know what I mean? We're not in that kind of business, right? We're looking for people who are ready. That is your ideal client. They're ready. They're looking for help to solve their problem. And so our marketing, we must meet them where they are in our marketing. We must articulate those pain points and struggles and just how hard it is to be stuck. And we must also dangle what's possible for them, like those transformations that they want. And we prioritize, the different pain points and transformations based on, what our audience feels is most relevant and urgent. So Marissa, in a nutshell, I would brainstorm a list, like the C-suite execs and the parents who do it all, like those are target audiences. What I want you to be thinking about is what are the pain points and struggles that these populations have that you can help solve? And what are some of the transformations and results that you can help them to achieve? And that is the core part of your messaging. We can target parents. There might even be some overlap, quite honestly, between, a lot of C-suite execs are also parents, right? So, it actually could be like kind of one and the same, but we need to get more clarity around the struggles that we're going to help people to overcome. Okay, hopefully that helps, but stay tuned because again, in the Six Figure Biz Academy, skill building call number 1, you will walk away crystal clear on exactly your niche and how to articulate your, what I call your magnetic message, which I think is really cornerstone to really all of our marketing that we do. Okay. All right. So, okay. So Susan Peacock, I like the strategy session. Can you give us an example of a strategy topic? Okay. So Susan, are you able to take yourself off of mute?
Here I am. Yes.
Hey, Susan, how are you?
Hi.
So
Great to see
good to talk to you. I love your
Absolutely.
name, by the way. What a great name.
Thank you. People
Uh,
remember it.
Say that again.
People remember it.
That's for sure. It's a
Yeah.
great name. All right. So I want to make sure I'm clear on your question. When you say a strategy, so I did make reference to a strategy session, right? And so like, I just want to make sure we're clear on the vernacular that we're using. So like from my perspective, a strategy session is like an enrollment call, or sometimes known as a discovery call.
Okay.
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 The thing about it is I always recommend that my clients give it a name. So instead of saying, hey, would you like to sign up for a discovery call? I mean, who says yes to that?
Right.
Like nobody. So I like to give it a name. And typically it could be like like some kind of a breakthrough call. What is your particular area of expertise? What is your niche? Do you know?
Diabetes education, weight
Oh, good.
loss, geriatrics, dietitian. Yes, just
Okay.
about everything. So I could picture, like Marissa said, she has got all these groups.
Yeah.
Anyway, so your discovery call or your strategy would be to zero in on what the specific problem is. So they go, oh, that's me, right?
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
she join some of these people together
Yes.
to group and get some, because it seems everybody likes a group. When I have groups, they love to hear other people's thoughts and they feed off of each other, and it works really well.
Oh, yeah. So like group programs.
Yes, but
Oh,
getting
absolutely.
them there at the same time every week
Absolutely.
is an issue, but can be solved. So I've thrown it out to patients and say, you decide what you can do. I'll be there for you, but you got to come together for one session a week.
Yeah.
Tell me the time, I'll be there, and let them decide. But in Marissa's case, to join these people with similar or problems, basically nutrition, but join them together so they can help each other. And of course, not see them one-on-one. That was one of my questions. Does she
Yeah.
see patients one-on-one?
I think she is, it sounds like she's new, right, Marissa?
No, I have been a dietitian since 2009. I've been in corporate
Okay.
wellness, like doing one-on-one counseling, webinars, the whole thing, everything.
That's
But
great.
not in your own business, right?
Yes, right. I have done it
Yeah.
for companies. Yes.
You've done it for other companies, but not in your own business necessarily. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That when I said new, I meant new in private practice. So, yeah. So like, again, if you look at that profit pyramid, and I think I'm still sharing my screen. Yes, I am.
Yes.
So okay. So as a new person or a new private practitioner, okay, my recommendation is always start with your level A. And the reason is, this might be surprising because typically the price point is higher for your level A. So like kind of our gut instinct, and it used to be mine too. Okay. It used to be mine too when I had my nutrition practice. I was like, well, the packages are higher end. So I think it'd be easier like for the person to sign up for like a level D, right? Like a 6 to 8 week webinar kind of workshop series. because it's less money for them. But the thing is, it's not where I recommend starting. And I kind of discovered this the hard way because, I went out, I got, in my case, I got training with Dr. Michelle May's program for mindful eating for weight management. And I was super excited. I'm like, okay, I'm just doing this. I am going to just like skip all the one-on-one stuff. I'm just going right to webinars, right? And then I went, oh, but wait, who am I going to promote to? I don't have an audience yet, right? And it does require it. There's more moving parts to get everybody to say yes to the same thing. Start, you know what I mean? There's definite, so you need a bigger audience, unless, and this is what I also discovered, since I didn't have that audience yet, I went, how can I leverage maybe my relationships with companies and other people who do have an audience? Can I make this a win-win, right? And that is what I ended up doing because I didn't have my own audience yet. And I really wanted to do these group programs, just like what you're talking about. So I took this 8-week workshop, kind of a turnkey mindful eating workshop, and I brought it to my gym, right? Made it a win-win for them. They're like, sure, we'll sponsor this because why wouldn't we? We get new bodies in the door, right? And then we get new people in the door and we can, hopefully they'll join the club. I brought it into companies like Rust-Oleum, right? So I was able to kind of figure out how to do that without having my own audience. That being said, I would just say in general, I just think it's easier to start with your level A because it is your more profitable offer. So especially if you're in a situation where you're like, gosh, I need a cash infusion and I need it like yesterday, it's way more profitable to get one yes for your private one-on-one program at, a higher price point, because it just takes one person to say yes, right? You don't have to have like all these other moving parts in place to offer, like a group program. And then as you start to grow your list, grow your audience, right? Then we go, all right, awesome. You're making money, you're getting yeses in your high-end program. Which of these levels do we want to build out next to help you to begin to scale and leverage, right? So I usually say, after a few yeses at that high end, and then just, some, I feel like we need an email list or like to fill a group, you got to promote to groups, right? It's just the reality. So either it's your own group or you're promoting to somebody else's group in order to fill out some of these other levels. But for sure, it's a great, I highly recommend it, right? Because, it gives you more flexibility, you're scaling and leveraging your time more effectively rather than like repeating the same thing constantly, right? And I think that, right, I see you nodding your head. And that's the thing that can be exhausting, to be really honest, because you have to be on fire every session when you're doing exclusively one-on-ones. And it really, so the biggest thing that I hear from my clients who have been, doing this for a while is they're getting kind of burnt out, right? They're exhausted. They want a little more variety in their day. And they also, they enjoy teaching, right? So that's where the groups and memberships, I get tons and tons of questions about memberships now. So all these other options are really exciting additions to a private practice. And the beauty is there's so many different ways we can, really, it's like the world is your oyster, in terms of what you create and how you implement. And even, those of you that do, functional testing, just as an example, you can still leverage your time and scale in this model. And that is pretty exciting because, like a hybrid program, you're able to offer, I think especially if you're doing functional labs, this can be a great option, like a level B. If you want to offer some one-on-one, like a lab debriefing or something like that inside of the program. Let's say hypothetically though, you are a functional practitioner, let's say you're running a lab or two, maybe you're doing food sensitivities or micronutrient testing or something like that. Another option is if you don't want to offer the one-on-one inside of the program, a great option is actually, if you can teach everybody the same thing. Now, I understand it's not always the easiest road to hoe, but if you can put everyone in the same group and essentially teach them how to interpret their own test, right? Like that's also that also can work, I guess, kind of depending on the lab you're running. So that would be like more of like a level C or D. All right, so that was kind of a long answer, Susan. I've been known to be rather verbose, and it's that dietitian gene, right?
Yes, I just sent you another question about the HIPAA. If everyone's on Zoom talking about labs, individual labs, how does HIPAA deal with that? Or how do you work?
Well, I would just have them. I mean, I think there's agreements that they sign, that they're not going to disclose private medical information. I mean, when I ran groups, I didn't run labs in my groups when I did it. But I still had people sign a form that just, indicated that they promised to keep everything confidential.
Right. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. And that was very doable. I think it worked really well.
Well, and that would make me think that if you have groups and somebody can't make it and you record it and you send it to them.
Yeah.
So you can use that same situation.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of the same idea. Now, again, I have to say I'm not an attorney. So like some of the, like deeper dive legal questions, I definitely would run by an attorney, but I can just tell you what I used to do. I would just have them sign, an agreement that they promise, to keep everything confidential. They're not going to mention anyone by name, that kind of a thing. Right.
Right.
So that's what I did. I mean, I probably would, if you're running labs, I don't know,
Not that, but I could also
not
see
that
that
different.
instead of everybody putting their name on, maybe making it client A, client B, client C, so nobody's name is visible.
Oh yeah. If you're going to share, like show the results, then for sure.
Yeah.
I would redact the patient's name for sure.
Yeah.
If you're going to like do a, a screen share with results.
Right. Or just the people in the group, instead of their name on the Zoom.
Right.
Change it if they, give them instruction how to do that. Say, can we just put your client A, client B, just so it's neutral.
Yeah, I mean, certainly are people that don't care, that would be their prerogative, right?
Right. Right.
But I do think that, yeah, I mean, groups are very doable, and it's just such a great, it's just a great way to
Wonderful.
provide, just some people are not group people, right? Like there are people, it's just never going to be a good fit, right? They're like, and guys, that's where your level A is, right? You're like, and here's the other really cool thing. I do want to be clear. Once you establish your level A, you get traction, you build out the other levels of your profit pyramid. What it really lets you do is escalate the value of your private work. So that's the other cool thing, is your private work then becomes even more exclusive, right? which is a beautiful thing if you think about it, right? So, I mean, because there's always going to be the population that's like, you know what? I just want you. I don't really care what it costs. I know you've got all these other options. I don't have time. I'm not a group person. I just want you. And I'm willing to invest, what it takes because I'm so sick of struggling with this problem and I can't take it anymore. I don't want to mess around in a group. I've done groups, right? Like some people will say that. But I would think for a lot of people, don't call it a course. Okay, sick people don't want to sign up for a course, just FYI. Okay. Generally, I would say that kind of language does not land super well because they're like, what, a course? Like what, like a course makes sense to us, but I would just kind of as a sidebar, I wouldn't call, I would, call it a program, a live, group program. I would probably try to avoid that language of calling it a course. The other thing you can do is pre-record different elements. You can even do that to add value to your level A. Okay. And I have done that myself. I asked myself, okay, self, where am I getting tons of questions? Like, what are those questions that I get all the time, like on email with my private clients? And how can I help them to, just understand these concepts better? And so I just made a list and I created little mini courses on those topics. They don't have to be fancy, right? I'll give you an example. Like in my world, a lot of people ask me about like what goes on a website and copywriting, right? And so I thought, you know what? That is a great course topic. I'm going to do a course on how to write website copy that makes you money. and it's super, I've gotten great feedback. Like you go through this little mini course and I mean, I feel like it can save you thousands of dollars because you don't have to hire a copywriter. I mean, you could, but you don't have to. If you go through this little mini course, you pretty much, have a better understanding on what you need to do. So anyway, just an example. So what you can do, what you all can do is take inventory of what you're hearing, right? What are these questions that you're getting all the time? And jump on a Zoom call and just like pre-record a little, 10-minute Zoom explanation, right? And then you just start accumulating these little Zoom sessions that you're recording, upload it into, your EMR or, whatever platform. And that becomes an incredible value add. And before you know it, you have like, possibly a course that you can maybe sell on its own. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do.
Endless.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
that's the exciting thing is that really your options are, the world is your oyster, truly. Right. Now, that being said, we do need to focus, right? Because we can't do every single thing at once. So I really want to encourage you guys to prioritize and, try your best to see things through fruition, see things through, right? Make a decision. I'm going to focus on this and I'm going to see it through and I'm going to tweak it and do what I have to do to make it into a profitable offer, essentially. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Let's see. Okay. So I do have a few questions. What is the best way for me to get to work with people over multiple sessions? Okay. So that is similar to the question, a little similar to the question we had earlier in terms of, how do we find our level A people, right? but again, the thing I want to emphasize here. So what's the best way to get people to work with me over multiple sessions? I would say first step is to make a decision, right? And I will be the first to say it's not easy, but if there's a specific segment inside of your private practice where you're like, you know what, I just cannot help these people unless they commit to an elongated experience with me, that's where I would start. And I would draw a line in the sand, literally. I would make a decision that moving forward, this population, so let's say you work with maybe a variety of people, but let's just say you've identified a subset of your audience that really you're not doing them any favors if they just do a one-off. Those are the folks you start with to move into, programs and packages. You make a decision moving forward, this is how it's going to be. And you know in your heart that it's the right thing to do, right? Because you're not helping them by doing one session, right? So I did this in my practice when I had my nutrition practice. I did, when I first started, I was doing peds. And I would really do the MNT model for peds, right? And I was okay generally with the one-offs initially in pediatrics, right? It was like food allergies and, a lot of that kind of thing. But I tell you what, when it came to weight management and mindful eating, I knew it was like, no, it is not going to, I don't even want your money for one session. Keep it, right? Because it's not going to be helpful for you. And it's just going to frankly frustrate me. So that is where I started. And I made a decision moving forward. This type of person that comes to me is a 90-day experience, or if they're not willing, they're not ready. And I was okay with that. I think it's just making a decision that this is the best way I can serve you. And if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. Like I'm not, you're probably not ready yet because change is hard. It's acknowledging that change is hard, right? So, so that's the first thing is just deciding. And the second thing is, I just want to remind you that people buy results. They don't want to buy your time. Okay. They don't care about buying your time. It's just, so you really want to help them keep an eye on those transformations that they want and how you get them there, that process, like all the things you're including in your program isn't nearly as important as the discussion around the transformation. And I would say also what it is costing them to remain stuck. So that is a big part of that enrollment conversation as well. All right. So, okay. So I have a couple questions specifically about the Six Figure Biz Academy. Are you guys familiar with my academy? I know Marissa said she is ready to go and I'm super excited about that. Yeah. So excited. I do want to just pause for a moment and then I'm going to take more questions, but I want to make sure you guys are aware about the Six Figure Biz Academy. You can go to the sixfigurebizacademy.com and learn all the ins and outs, all the details. But the things that I want to share with you right now, well, first of all, the early bird pricing is going away Sunday at midnight. So we're right around the corner from that deadline. And it is a significant savings. It's like a $2,000 savings. So you don't want to miss that deadline if you're at all contemplating. I offer the Six Figure Biz Academy only one time per year. So guys, this is really it for a whole nother year. In this program, so it is a 5-month deep dive immersive experience. And in this program, you are going to get 10. So we're going to meet 3 times a month, essentially. And guys, it's live. It is 100% live. So we're going to meet twice a month for skill building calls where I'm going to teach you various skills like, the messaging, how to create your really incredible program, how to price your program, how to create urgency, right, with your potential client, how to sell that program in a way that feels super, super authentic and real. And then how to move into multiple streams of income, right? So you're going to start getting yeses in your high-end programs, your level A. We're going to build out your level E to help you to get in front of your clients, grow your list, grow your audience. And then we'll move into, okay, what's next? And that is building out those middle levels, right? Those group programs. So literally you're going to learn every single step along the way. And you get, so we're going to meet 3 times a month is what I was going to say. 2 times a month, we're going to do skill building. So it's basically a 90-minute session each time. And I'll be teaching you different skills that I think are really important to helping you build your business. Once a month, we're going to meet just like we're meeting here for Q&A. Okay. 100% Q&A. And then the 4th week each month, pretty much every 4th week, you're going to get a brand new bonus, right? Like a bonus workshop. Some of those bonus workshops are actually going to be live and they're really handpicked by me, really designed to offer just even added value on top of all the things that you're going to be learning and implementing inside of the academy. So I do want to just let you know that the early bird is about to end. And the thing that's super important to drive home here is that we need to get on the phone and talk. If you're at all interested, I want to encourage you to go to the sixfigurebizacademy.com, click that little button. There's a few buttons throughout the page that says apply now. That's the button you're going to click. And you want to fill out just a short informational kind of application form. You're going to also set up your time to chat with either me or someone from my team. And it is a zero pressure kind of conversation where together we'll just talk through and determine if you are a good fit for the academy and if the academy is a good fit for you. And one thing I can promise you is if it doesn't seem like a fit, we will tell you. Okay. So it's really an opportunity for you to get your questions answered because we really want you to be a good fit. The other thing that I do want to mention is there is believe it or not, a 4-week money back guarantee. Okay. So that is pretty cool as well. Like people don't normally do that, but I am very confident in the program. And so just want to let you know that it's really risk-free, right? Like literally you could step in, and if you're not happy for any reason, if it just doesn't seem like it's a fit, we give you your money back. And I don't ask you to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get to that point. So I do have a couple of questions about the academy, just really quick. Okay, so a couple of the questions that I got, one is I'm worried I'm too new, and the other one is I'm worried I'm too advanced. So kind of interesting, right? The interesting and kind of the cool thing about the academy is that, and this is the 5th year I'm running it. So I do it once a year. It's the 5th year. Interestingly, and again, let me reiterate, in order to get in the academy, we need to chat. So we can really kind of dig into your specific situation and determine if it is a good fit, right? But that being said, for the most part, the beauty of this program is that it does work really well for brand new people. again, because we get to do things right the first time. That's kind of the cool thing. We get to do it all right out of the gate. We're not like going back and trying to fix things. So it definitely is a great fit for people that are just starting out. The program is designed to front load so you get results fast, because my intention is that you make your return on investment as quickly as possible. Now, what about people that are more advanced? Here's what I have witnessed. And again, it kind of depends. So I'd like to talk to you about your specific situation if you're kind of like, oh, I might be too advanced. But what I have witnessed, and it may be the case, all right, I'll just say that right away. Like, again, we need to talk about it. There were a few people last year that I spoke with who I was like, I think you might be. And they ended up doing private work with me and doing the academy simultaneously. So that is a possibility as well. But I would just say, for the most part, if you feel like you've been at this for a while, but either you're like, let's say you're in the one-off session model, then for sure the academy is a great fit. Okay. If you want to move into programs and packages and you want to learn how to implement this multiple streams of income model, regardless of how long you've been doing this, you will learn those strategies inside of the academy. All right. So you're going to learn email marketing, all the different ways to get in front of your target audience. But again, I would just invite you to fill out an application so we can have a conversation, just so we can determine, if this truly is a good fit, or, if there's another option that might be better. Okay. Another question is, basically, I got a couple questions. Is this the right time for me? A few different iterations of the question. One is, money is a little tight. Is this a good time? Another one is, should I, just in general, how do I know it's a good time? And I would just say, only you know the answer really deep inside. But the one thing I'll say is that quite often, we're faced with decisions where, like, maybe the timing isn't quite perfect, but that is kind of life, right? Like, I don't know when there's a absolute perfect time to do things. The thing that I would encourage you, of course, listen to your inner voice, because I think at the end of the day, you really do know what's best. But at the same time, I would say, to the extent possible, I think it's really important to train ourselves to do things before we feel perfectly ready, like all the stars, moon, and sun are perfectly aligned, because our life is waiting. That's my feeling. But again, you know yourself best. It is important to really kind of listen to your gut feeling. But many of us kind of have this voice that gets in our way, right? Like this inner critic who's like, oh, you're not ready. You're not good enough. You need to do this, this, and this first. And I would just say we need to train ourselves to disobey that voice, quite honestly, because in business, we need to strike while the iron's hot, right? We need to get ourselves to move forward and move through that discomfort. So I just want to say it's important to train yourself to start before you feel like perfectly ready. Okay. All right. With that being said, let me switch back to some of these other questions. And again, guys, just go to that sixfigurebizacademy.com and let's set up a time to chat. All right. We are, so we can have a conversation like over the weekend, even into next week. The only caveat is the early bird does go away on Sunday at midnight. So you do need to submit that application prior to that day. Okay. So as long as you've submitted the application prior to Sunday at midnight, we will grandfather you in with the early bird price. All right. Even if we talk on Monday, you're still fine as long as we've gotten your application by Sunday at midnight. All right, cool. All right. So let me let's see here. Find my questions. All right. Okay, guys, got some more questions to get through. Okay, Christine. Christine is a digestive health specialist for 15 years and has many, many letters after her name, which is amazing. Okay, Christine has worked one-on-one for 20 years and need coaching on how to start groups of 10 to 20 and also VIP clients who are able to pay 3 to 5K for a 12-week package, which is totally, totally doable. Christine lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, and her tech clients have had major layoffs. Okay, so they're all on a budget. How do I approach this to sell my $5,000 program? Okay, great question. Interesting. A lot of them are getting laid off. Okay, but let's talk about a few different facets to help you to be able to move in a space where you're, I mean, to be honest with you, many of my clients are very successful at charging, 3 to 5K for a program. So I do want to just emphasize that, what you're contemplating is actually within reason, especially given your experience and, your certifications. Now, again, what are people paying for? Christine, are you able to take yourself off of mute? I'm not sure if Christine is still here, but maybe she's going to listen to the recording. All right. So the bottom line is this. People, your ideal client is really struggling with digestive issues, right? And the reality is it's probably bad. I mean, let's just be honest, right? Like it is probably impeding on their lives. And it sounds like, you're probably working with a successful kind of, younger-ish population. Being stuck with digestive issues, not fun for anybody, let alone, this population. So first of all, we have to have solid messaging. We need to address those really nasty pain points that they're experiencing. And again, we're dangling in our marketing what's possible. What are those transformations that are possible for them if they do your program? Okay, so the positioning is critical. We need to get you in front of these people, which I'm getting the impression that, you've been successful at that. We need to get them into enrollment calls with you. And the whole thing with the enrollment call is in this call, you are successful. You're successfully able to get that client talk to you about this, the cost, really the cost of being stuck with these problems, in your case, digestive issues. So in other words, like, what is this chronic IBS and bloating and nasty gas and diarrhea and being stuck to the bathroom? What is that costing you? Right? Like you need to get them talking about the cost, how this is spilling over and how it's impeding their ability to live their life. That's so critical to this process. And then we need to get those folks talking about what would change for them if they were able to move away from these problems that they're having. Like, how would that change? What would they be able to do, be, or have as a result? So a lot of this, Christine, is about navigating that enrollment conversation. And believe me, if your clients are truly struggling with this problem, which clearly they are, there is going to be a high percentage of those folks who are willing to invest in your offer in order to solve the problem. So that is really kind of the crux of it. Of course, it's messaging, it's creating that really awesome program. it's giving that program language that resonates for the audience, right? And it's having that conversation with people, not just where you're saying, okay, here's what I've got for you. Like that is a fraction of what that conversation is about. It's a coaching conversation where they are articulating how this problem, in your case, digestive disorder, digestive symptoms, just how that is getting in their way. Like if you can do that part really well, I swear that's like 75, 80% of the game right there. It's the positioning your program as the bridge to getting them closer to those results they want. I hope that helps, but it really is doable. And the thing is that people will pay for what they want and what they need, right? And clearly, if we can position your program in a really powerful way, you will get yeses without a doubt. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, Allison, how to get business as a pharmacist consultant for other coaches on their trickier, more medically complex cases. Allison, are you able to take yourself off of mute?
Yes, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Okay, so I just want to make sure, can you elaborate a little bit on your question?
Okay, so I have been told just by some colleagues of mine in the coaching area that if they could bring their clients to me, show me what they're going through, show me maybe what deprescribing they're wanting to look at, that I could have clients of my own, but I could also help consult with other coaches.
Okay.
I don't really know how to get that even started or how that would, to get my name out to do that.
Oh, mean like coach the coach. Are you a coach?
I'm a pharmacist and I'm
Okay.
in a program to be a coach.
Oh, great. Okay, congrats. I love that. That's fantastic. What program are you doing?
SAFM.
Awesome. Okay, that's great. I love seeing healthcare practitioners getting coach training. It's a life changer, I think. Okay, so basically, okay, so are you asking how you can be in a position to like be like almost like a supervisory kind of a role where other coaches can kind of pick your brain and ask you about their difficult cases?
I would assume so. The impression I got from a friend of mine who's been a coach for a while is like a case by case basis. Like, let me bring you this case.
Yeah.
Can you look at it, look at their labs and give me an assessment? And so that's kind of what I was envisioning, but I would be open to an idea if there was something that was more accessible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, basically, I think it's very doable. It's just that your target audience in this case would not be like the lay person who themselves is experiencing health issues, right? It's kind of
Right.
more of a teaching role. So it's, I mean, kind of similar to, honestly, kind of more what I do, right? Except, so like my target audience are other health practitioners, right? Including, health coaches, right? I teach them business. Sometimes I teach in my work, we'll talk about different labs and like how to integrate things like that into their business. But like what you're talking about is more where you're targeting other coaches. So your avatar would be other coaches who have kind of, are challenged by like the medical complexity of their clients. I guess the only thing that I would really think about there, we could talk through this more, but like, so for a coach, looking at labs and getting into that nitty gritty is out of their scope unless they themselves are licensed health practitioners. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, right, so like a coach, they're not really digging into labs,
Okay.
right? Um, and I would just say yeah, so that would be the only thing. So like your ideal client probably, and this is something for you to look into a little bit more, but just kind of off the top of my head, there's a pretty hard line in the sand in terms of what a coach can and can't do. And getting into that nitty gritty of like, I mean, of course they look at medical history and things like that, but I don't really think they're digging into all these different labs because then they don't have, it's not within their scope to go back to that patient and say, okay, I looked into this and, here's what I learned about your labs. Like that would have to
Sure.
come, you know what I mean? So that's the only thing I'm not completely
Well,
sure about with this.
and it wouldn't have, like, labs are just an example kind of
Okay.
in the more SAFM direction.
Okay.
Ultimately, eventually, I would like to get into pediatrics specifically. And so that's looking at, what are their doses? Is there something that they need to, and it's not about changing anyone's medication. It's just
Mhm.
kind of about taking a second look and kind of figuring out what meds are working against each other, and
Okay.
just more of a pharmacist consultant with a functional medicine training.
Oh,
Both.
okay. 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 Right. Okay. Well, okay. So putting all that aside, like the scope, I'll leave that in, for you to figure out. But I mean, basically it's your audience is the practitioner or the coach,
Mhm.
right? And you're offering consultations to help assimilate information, including, drug interactions and that kind of thing, right? So, what I have seen done, so basically you need to get in front of that audience. You need to be attracting those people like that. That would be your focus. And then you're offering, like you could offer packages like, okay, a bundle of X number of 1 hour long consultations. You could do it that way. You could also teach, like you could teach people how to do it,
Mhm.
right? Again, I'm going to leave the whole scope conversation in your court, right?
Yes.
But absolutely. I mean, I've seen for example, lots and lots of dietitians do that, tons, where, they start out working with patients directly. And then they're like, you know what? I really like teaching. And I really like mentoring my colleagues. So I'm going to add a page on my website that's specifically directed towards, um, my colleagues, offering, maybe educational, group programs. Like you could get these practitioners in a group and do consulting that way, right? You could do, like you can build out the whole profit pyramid essentially is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I absolutely see it working. You just need to nail down again from a marketing perspective what what is the struggle? What is the pain that they're experiencing that is holding them back from doing
Okay.
the best work that they can do? And what does that feel like for them? Tap into those emotions of how that makes them feel. Probably makes them feel inferior, like, oh, I don't know enough, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's the kind of thing that can really be motivating and entice people to move forward. And then just create some services that are going to help, move that population forward. Figure out your price, you know what I mean? And the marketing. And yeah, I mean, I totally because I've seen it happen, this kind of work done with dietitians very, very frequently. right? Yeah. So any other questions off the top of your head?
I mean, I'm kind of figuring out how to market, but I think that's probably down the road for me. So,
Okay. Yeah. Marketing is going to be super important, and, just building your audience.
okay. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Um, all right. So Jenny asks, what strategy would you recommend for an online group program? I think that means what, marketing strategy, right, Jenny? If Jenny's available. All right. So Jenny, if you're going to listen to this recording, so she asked, what strategy would you recommend for an online group program? Social media, anything else? I think that means what, marketing strategy? And okay, so to fill a group program, and again, guys, this is stuff that we go through in the Six Figure Biz Academy. So if marketing is confusing to you, again, I really want to encourage you, go fill out an application. Let's get on the phone and see if the Six Figure Biz Academy is a good fit. All right. I take you through soup to nuts, various marketing strategies that are tried and true. They're going to help you to get in front of your audience and invite them into that next step. So, for example, with a group program, I mean, the idea is that you are utilizing social media to grow your email list. That is the number one way I like to use social media. Generally speaking, people don't buy from social media, right? They just have, unless it's like a super, I don't know, it has to be really an inexpensive offer because they don't really know you yet, right? So they're not going to see you on social media and click a button to buy your high-end program. It just doesn't happen. So how we're using social media is to expand our reach, which is amazing that we have this ability nowadays to get in front of so many people that we otherwise would not be able to get in front of. So that's really the beauty of social media. And we can leverage social media by enticing people to join our email list with a freebie, like a lead magnet. Okay, guys? Again, I teach all of this inside of the academy, but essentially to fill a group program, you do want to have an audience. You want to grow your list. You want to nurture that list, right? So they're kind of used to hearing from you. And then what I like to recommend is that, we do like a special, like a webinar or a 3-day challenge or something like that, where we're really increasing that sense of excitement, right? And then during that event, you are basically pitching, right? Pitching / inviting your audience into the next step, which is the paid program. Okay. There's many details in between. And, you're emailing, you've got a whole email campaign, you've got a whole social media campaign, but generally speaking, to answer your question, you're using social media to grow your reach and to grow your email list. Okay. Let's see. All right. Barbara asked, did you find the gyms wanted to cut from your weight management program? Yes, they did. And I was okay with that, Barbara. It was only fair because the reality is I didn't have an audience, right? I'm trying to remember what it was. It was really, really fair. I will say that. I remember doing that at the gym. Oh, I wish I could remember the details. Bottom line is I got what I wanted in terms of the price. And I think they got just a little tiny cut above and beyond that. It really wasn't all that significant. But here's the thing. This is the thing I really want to be clear on. If you go in to those conversations with businesses, and if you can kind of leverage the offer in this example, you know, me bringing my mindful eating program for weight management to the gym, what's in it for them? So I kind of knew going into the conversation what was in it for them. What's in it for them? Number one is, you know, I knew that they paid really close attention to how frequently their members were coming to the facility. Like that was really important to them. So number one, I knew that current members that came, like it gets them in the door, right? Number two, people that came from the outside because they were promoting on social media. What's in it for the gym? Well, you're getting new bodies inside the door. And then what the gym would do is they would offer each participant that I had in my program, like a special, like personal training assessment. Okay. And that was a bonus to the client. So it was a win for the client, but it was a win for the gym because then they were able to kind of sell the client on the gym. So they ultimately got more membership. So they didn't really care so much about, you know, making a few extra bucks per client that I brought in. What they really liked is the possibility of increasing the engagement with their membership, offering value to their membership, and getting new bodies in the door to increase their membership, right? To increase their base. So I would just recommend that you always try to think about what's in it for them and how can I position my offer so that, you know, it's a win-win, right? And then the money, like I said, they don't care so much about a few extra bucks that I was bringing in at the time. I think they got a little bit, but it really wasn't the driver. All right. All right, guys. I'm going to maybe try to take another question or so. Okay. Okay, so let me take maybe another question. Let's see here. Okay. So I think Muna, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Can I be successful reaching people virtually via webinar, et cetera, or in person, or is in person necessary from my experience? Now, Muna, I don't know exactly what you do. And if you're available to take yourself off of mute, that would be great. I'd welcome a conversation with you. But that being said, okay, I'm just saying, hardly anyone I know has a brick and mortar anymore. So I think it's kind of unusual post COVID, honestly, for people to see patients or clients in person. I think that is more the exception than the rule nowadays, which is super interesting, right? Okay. Okay. All right. So, all right. So Muna, it looks like she just left, unfortunately. So sorry I didn't get to answer her question while she was live. But bottom line, those of you that are wondering, you guys, virtual, I would say, honestly, I cannot really even think of more than a couple of clients that see patients virtually anymore. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so I have difficulty creating a sense of urgency for prenatal and postpartum nutrition and articulating my solutions. Any suggestions for services that don't require one-on-one? Yeah, I mean, I think in the prenatal space, I think that group, I think the group model is great. And Lilac, if you're available, if you want to take yourself off of mute, I'd be happy to chat with you a little bit. But essentially, Okay, so this is in the prenatal and postpartum nutrition population. And so basically the question is, creating a sense of urgency in this group and offering services that don't require one-on-one. Absolutely. I would, especially if you have an audience, or again, if you can tap into somebody else's audience, like, an OBGYN who's got like patients who really, really need help, and maybe they'd be willing to promote your group program. Like that would be a great option. And so I would build out so I think you have a couple of options. I would look at your level D in the profit pyramid, which would be like a 6-week webinar series with Q&A. The other thing that you could really do very, very easily here is to create a do-it-yourself kind of downloadable product where you pre-record it. It's, maybe a 3-week or a 3-module little mini course with a workbook, and you could pre-record it. And that would be I think a great option for especially the prenatal population. So that I think could work out really well.
Do you think I have to start with one-on-one counseling first? I'm still fairly new.
Well, I always think starting out with one-on-one is a good idea. The thing about prenatal, because I have coached people in every niche under the sun. And I will say the thing about prenatal, obviously you only got a certain number of weeks that you can get them, right?
Right.
And so that is kind of the challenge. So I think if I were in your shoes, well, first of all, you could definitely get like your higher risk prenatal, like your diabetics, right? Your the women that aren't gaining weight appropriately, those higher risk situations. That's what I would focus on for your one-on-one, I think, because those are really urgent. Like they got to do it, right? They got to do it. They're not sitting there going, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure. Like they have to do it. It's pretty much urgent. Urgency is built in, right? Now for other groups that aren't as urgent, like what would be an example? I don't know. What would be an example of something that you would deal with that maybe isn't as important or urgent, but still like getting enough iron, like just good nutrition, right? Like healthy prenatal nutrition. I feel like, of course, to you and I, it's important and urgent, but like to the patient, they're like, oh, I can figure it out, right? I can, look it up. I think a DIY course would be great for that group. And yes, I would call PCOS urgent for sure. I think PCOS would be a great target for certainly for one-on-one, and you can do a ton with that particular diagnosis. Yeah, and then prenatal for anyone who's thinking of getting pregnant. So for that group, that's a tricky one. Again, for you and I, like that would be probably urgent, but for your normal person, I don't know if that's considered as urgent. That could be maybe creating a DIY downloadable course might be better for those folks, right? Now, there's always exceptions, right? There's always going to be people within these groups that are like, oh my God, yes, it's totally urgent. Okay, cleaning up your body for pregnancy. So many people are taking drugs that may affect the fetus. Yeah, it depends on, like, you and I see how that is urgent. Does your audience view it as urgent? That's the question, right? Does your audience see that as, does the doctor see that as urgent? Okay, because that's where you're gonna get referrals probably through OBGYNs in this case. So I really like the PCOS idea. And I also like prenatal, especially women who have been trying to conceive but have been unsuccessful. That's another little subgroup that I think you could do a ton with. So like infertility, maybe women going through IVF, that kind of thing. I think there's a ton of opportunity there. Okay. All right. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Yeah.
you.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. I'm just going to do one more quick one, and this is memberships. So memberships. I'd love to hear more about a good membership options, pricing, the offer and such. I'm doing only one-on-one and really could only offer meal planning and continue follow it up. I can't think of other ways to add continued value. I love, love, love talking about memberships. And this is again, guys, go to the sixfigurebizacademy.com. Click that little button. I want to have a conversation with you guys. I really, really do. Let's see if the Six Figure Biz Academy is a fit, because all of these topics, we go into a lot of depth inside of the academy. All right. And then, so Christina, Christina, can you take yourself off of mute? I think you're here, right, Christina? Because I can maybe coach you through.
I am here, yes.
Hey, all right. Yay,
Hello.
Christina. It's so good to see you. All right. So you're only doing one-on-one, right? And you want to be able to offer a membership. And I love that idea so very much. So there's a couple different ways that we can position a membership. Let me just kind of give you the lay of the land. Way number one is possibly as your clients are coming out of their one-on-one work with you, right? So they're like, you know, Christina, I feel pretty good, but I still would like to be able to ask questions and I still want to feel connected to you, right? So current clients and former clients are a great fit for a membership. The other group of people would be brand new people who've never worked with you before. So one of the first questions you need to ask yourself is, you know, do I want to mix these people together, right? Do I want them in the same pool, so to speak, or do I need to put them in separate pools? Because, you know, group A over here is already knowledgeable. I've already worked with them. And group B over here, like they've not done anything with you. All right. So we need to decide, you know, is this the same program? Can we save you time by essentially combining is really what I'm getting at. Now, in terms of what we would offer, let me give you a couple of ideas. So meal planning is great. So like meal planning software where they have access, I think is a beautiful idea. You could offer a Facebook group or some kind of community where, you know, there's interaction. You could offer, do you by chance use FullScript?
I do. I use FullScript, and then I also use Practice Better. And I thought maybe, you know, just them continued access to Practice Better and the food journals might be also a good part of that.
Bingo. Yes, absolutely. I love that. So, yeah, ongoing access to Practice Better, the food journaling. You need to decide, you know, if you want to add comments to their food journals, because I know that can be very time consuming. So I would just say, if you do that, you want to set limits around it, right? Like you're going to review food journals once a week, twice, you know, whatever that is, just so you're not doing it every day, right? Because that can get a little much. If you're using FullScript, you could say that they're going to get a discount, like a special discount, so long as they're members, right? So that's a good one. Another one that you might consider, since they're not getting any one-on-one at this point, what you can do, and it's funny, I've talked to two of my private clients today about this exact topic. And one thing that you could do is have like a monthly Zoom call with your audience. And it could be like kind of like what we're doing here, a Q&A, although I would limit it to like an hour, right? Maybe you have them send in questions in advance, right? That's a great thing to do where they're, they fill out this little form, sending in their questions in advance. And then the other thing, like if you don't want to do the Q&A thing, what you could do is call it office hours. Okay. So you show up on Zoom once a month, like the first Monday of every month from 8 to 10, or not 8 to 10, like 9 to 10, 1 hour basically. And you just show up and you're there, and it's kind of like office hours, like when you were in college, right? Where, the professor had office hours, and if people showed up, great. If they didn't, so be it. So I think those all would be really great options for a membership for either of those groups that I shared, right? The prior clients, past and current clients, or brand new people coming into your funnel. And then in terms of price, another thing that people do is some of my clients have memberships that are really heavily, much more focused on content. They get a special newsletter. They get like, it's more content driven. I don't prefer that myself because that just feels like, I like to do the interaction a little bit more, but I just do want to put that out there. Some of my clients have created like a library. It's like access to a content library. And every month there's new additions in that content library. Okay. Pricing. Generally it's a lower price point. I would just say I see it all over the place. Everything from like $20 to $100 a month. It's a huge variance. 27, 37, 47, 79, and 97. I know there's a lot to pick from, but those are the numbers that I see most commonly. I think, you could easily do 47 a month. And then raise it, like your founding members get in at 47 and then you can bump it up. Right. And then the only other little bit of advice I would give is that you give people the option to pay for either 6 months or a year, because you really want to get people to commit. Right. So I think that works well too. So like if you say, okay, let's just say it's 47 a month, right? And what you can do is say, if you sign up for 6 months, I'll give you a month free. So there's a little bit of a savings, right? You're incentivizing people. So that's kind of the really quick version of a membership. I mean, there's a lot of other things that we could talk about, but in terms of like, what goes in it, and some various price points, that's kind of the quick overview, right? Typically there's a sense of community in these memberships, and that is kind of a driving force why a lot of folks like to join, because they want to be with other people who have the same problem as they have, right? And they're kind of going through that same sort of experience and they want to be with other people that are kind of in the same boat as them, right? So I would be cognizant of who it's for, right? Just to, add some specificity if possible. Is that helpful?
Okay. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I'm curious with the community aspect of it, you think Facebook groups is a perfectly good option as opposed to, all the other things out there for communities?
I mean, there's lots of different options. I think Practice Better even has something. So, right, like that community chat, that could be an option. Yeah, I mean, typically this is me. I use Facebook for my communities and it seems to work pretty well. But that being said, there are people out there that just greatly dislike Facebook, right? So you will get a little pushback sometimes. So, that being said, you could just go with, the chat inside of Practice Better. I think you would be fine. But
Okay.
I think the key is to try to create that sense of community. If that's a value that you want to impart on your audience. But I like that approach because what's really nice about that is, they can support one another, right? And that is
Right.
a really gratifying thing to see, when you're witnessing it, where, the group is supporting one another and you can really, so it's just another way to reach people and help them to move forward. But it really depends. These are just things you need to think about. Like, what is the driving purpose behind the membership? Is it teaching? Is it content? Is it community? Is it a little bit of each of those things, right? Or is it none of those things and something different that I, didn't think of? Like, there's just so many different approaches. But generally, I think a sense of community is awesome. And then, just go with what you enjoy. Right. Like if you, so I do have clients that'll do like a webinar every month, like some kind of an educational webinar with Q&A. Right. So like some kind, and it doesn't have to be an hour long. It could be like a 15-minute, educational piece with Q&A and discussion. So that's another way you can approach it.
Yeah, I love that. I love all those ideas. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, good deal. Okay, you guys. All right, guys, we are almost at the 2-hour mark. Can you believe it? Woo, thanks for sticking with me. You guys are diehards, right? All right, guys. So we're going to wrap it up for the night. I got to many of your questions. There were a few that I couldn't get to, and I'm sorry. But again, I do want to remind you just one last time, go to the sixfigurebizacademy.com and just click that little button about having a conversation, because I'd really absolutely welcome chatting with you individually, just to, ensure that you're on the right trajectory to get you to where you want to go. Let's make 2023 your year to shine, really. So I really want to help you if you're needing help and wanting help and really wanting to put the pieces together, and let's make 2023 the year to make it happen, right? So thank you so very much for joining me. Hope you got a ton of value. And I know I loved being able to spend time with you guys. Yeah, don't forget to put your emails in the chat if you're an RD or LDN, so that we can get your continuing education credit to you. And okay, you guys, we're going to call it for tonight. Again, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful night. And I hope to be talking to many of you over the next few days. All right. So go and book your call and let's see if the Academy is a good fit to help you to get to where you want to go in this 22. I was going to say the new year. It's still the new year, right? We're into March already. So it's not the brand new year, but let's just say, let's get you to where you want to go in 2023. All right, guys, take care. And thank you so much. Bye for now.